Maxim of Choice by Literally Mad Lad on AO3. Episode 15, Chapter 5. It's an innocent science experiment. I swear. For science. I've got some news, Deku said as he approached the dock. Deku rubbed up the side of his face, clearing the eyes of sleep. Another one of your kind was sent in Peru, and I was asked to visit for a stint. See if communication is possible? Katsuki latched onto what Deku was insinuating. Katsuki hadn't seen or heard from anyone of his species for the better part of his life, and any connection he might have had with them died when he started to lose the way he used to talk. He was rusty and had no means of collaborating with his accuracy. Me? Katsuki said out loud. His voice cracked, and the sound of his own voice nearly sent him towering into the water. I wasn't going to, Deku insists, shaking his head. But I don't know if your tail turning black is a bad sign. If I could talk to someone else who might know, we'll be able to find a way why it's happening. And if it needs to be fixed. He'll be alone if Deku went to Peru. No, Katsuki said. His throat was closing up. He signed. You can't go. Why not? Because you have to take care of me, Katsuki thought. But that wasn't entirely true. Even with the fishing, Deku was still dropping fish off regularly, and the population was steadily increasing again. This first stint would only be for 2 weeks, Deku said. And if it all goes well, I'll be back for a week. You'll be in hibernation anyways. The previous winter, Katsuki had grown sluggish from the cold and restrained his body heat down to the surface where he could be warmed by the depths of the earth. It was before he had a waterfall, so the assistant and Deku had chiseled holes into the ice to deposit fresh fish. Katsuki didn't eat much those months, usually since his diet had increased to an all-time high prior to the cold winter. If I can, I'll try to get Momo to visit, Deku said. Please, Kachan. I'm worried. And when I'm gone, the police might stop by and it'll be best if I'm not here. I have an alibi already in place. Katsuki fell quiet. The idiot already made up his mind, and based on how every other decision Deku made, he was unlikely to cave in just because Katsuki chose to riot. Katsuki lifted his hands to ask, When do you leave? I was just sent the tickets. I'll be leaving tomorrow. Katsuki sunk deeper into the water, drifting away until the exact moment Deku reached out over the water to catch Katsuki by the arm. His hands closed uncomfortably over the sensitive fin along his forearm, which had grown sore over the days. He had used to be able to flare them out, but now he had passed over the event of a week ago to track the exact moment his prey had injured his forearm, too. But he can't identify it. An involuntary hiss escaped. He reeled back, sharp ears flattening against his hair. For a quarter of a second, Deku's grip jolted, as if to leave. But just as quickly as it faded, the resolve charged back to pull Katsuki closer. Katsuki reared against it, and he could have escaped if he wanted to. He knew he could. Please don't be mad at me, Deku said, over the sudden volume of Katsuki snarling at the back of his throat. I'll be back, I promise. Katsuki snapped his teeth at Deku, and as they parted into a feral growl, Deku did nothing but to stare at him with those big green eyes and stupid pouting lips. Deku closed his hands over Katsuki's cheek, his grip tight against Katsuki's jawline. Katsuki's snarls dissolved into a low-pitched whimper. Go, he signed sharply. He didn't want to linger here and prolong the inevitable. I'm not leaving until you're okay with this. I don't care, just go. Katsuki shoved him hard by the shoulders, but Deku held on tight. If you aren't okay with what I did, then go already. What do you mean? Deku said. And when Katsuki merely scowled at him, Deku said, You think I'm upset with you? Aren't you? No, Kachan. I could never be mad at you. Deku soothed his fingers over Katsuki's hair. Katsuki closed his eyes against it, relief seeping from every stroke through his hair. You were protecting your territory, and you did a good job. Of course he did. If Katsuki can fend Deku out of his territory, then The best he could do was prove that he was capable of doing so against other people. It was pathetic how long it took for him to do it, though. I don't believe you. He sighed, though he did, in fact, believe Deku. Deku, in turn, signed back a confused statement Katsuki had never seen. I can never be mad at you because I am... you. Katsuki frowned. He repeated the words back, and Deku nodded. Yeah, it means to be in love, Deku said. It was structured differently from how Katsuki was most familiar with the term love. The assistant had offhanded closed two S fists across her chest in regards to Deku, like a hug. But Katsuki's love was different. It tapped against his palm, and Katsuki had to assume it implied something else. Katsuki crossed his arms over his chest, fists pressed above his pecs. Deku nodded. That works too, but this one's a bit different. How? Katsuki said out loud. He hated when there were multiple signs for a single goddamn word. Just make up your mind already, he thought. If I love you this way, Deku started, tapping the palm before he reached out for Katsuki's cheek. Then, is it okay if I demonstrate what that means? I'm gonna touch my lips to yours. Katsuki dropped his eyes to Deku's mouth. He hadn't thought much about Deku's lips. He had been around humans long enough before Deku to no longer be alarmed by the dull state of their teeth. Lips, however, weren't all that appealing to him. He saw how hooks mangled them on salmon off the coast of Askla. Deku brought Katsuki's fingers up to graze over Deku's mouth. He hadn't touched Deku's face there before, or if he had, it had been by accident. During their bouts of play fighting, the texture of Deku's skin was smudged over into smooth, pinkish skin there, and when Katsuki pinched his fingers over Deku's bottom lip, they tugged apart. The skin tightened when Katsuki smiled. Lips are intimate, so no one but you can touch my lips, Deku said, and punctuated the assertment with a finger over Katsuki's bottom lip. Katsuki jolted as if in shock, but soon melted into Deku's careful, merothic touches. Same goes for you, Deku said. Only you, Katsuki confirmed, his voice like gravel at the end of his throat. It left a sting that he was willing to endure, so he wouldn't have to pull his hands away from Deku's mouth. Yeah, Deku whispered, leaning off the edge just a fraction more. Katsuki blinked, completely still against Deku's fingers. Deku dragged his thumb off of Katsuki's bottom lip. Katsuki's hands dropped as Deku drew closer, close enough for Katsuki to feel Deku's warm, human's breath against his mouth. Katsuki's lips twitched on the verge of baring his teeth, but in his resistance, they trembled, shaking against the brief glaze of Deku's lips on his. What is he doing? Katsuki thought, eyes wide. Deku's gaze had lowered, his eyelashes folding over the freckles, purple bags under his eyes. Katsuki's only source of oxygen came from his gills, which were still submerged under the water. Even if he wanted to breathe like a human, he couldn't. Deku would feel it, as Katsuki certainly could with Deku's sharp, minty breath. The pressure of Deku's soft skin slotted between Katsuki's uncertain, tense lips. When Deku pulled away, the suction from Deku's mouth audibly popped between them. Katsuki leaned in after it to chase the sudden, indescribable glow that floated through him. Deku obliged. Against his lips, Deku described the words for Katsuki. Kissing. It was a kiss, something that Katsuki couldn't recall ever existing in his society he initially was raised in. Humans did it to show affection. Katsuki clung to Deku's arms, to hold himself above the water where Deku's lips could reach him. It was the only thing separating him, were the occasional breaths Deku needed in to continue the slow, language push and pull of his mouth against Katsuki's. Even the slow nature of it was enough to set Katsuki's heart racing, until his head was dizzy with energy. He never wanted Deku to go. He slurred back, his grip on Deku. He never wanted Deku to go. He slurred back, his grip on Izuku forcing him into the water, after Katsuki. Izuku's heart lurched to his throat. He had seen plenty of legends on sirens dragging lustful humans to their demise, and every dream he had ever had of Katsuki painted the mermaid as one. Katsuki, Izuku's downfall. He didn't mind that sound one bit, but still, his mortal lungs screamed in fear. For tomorrow, do not expect me to pick back up where that left off. I'm gonna skip all of that because I just am, okay? I just am. I'm skipping it, and we're going into the further. If you don't want to skip it and you want to read it, go read it in your own time. Not here. But yeah, skipping it to where Izuku has left for Peru. So, yeah. Any thoughts on this? They finally confessed. It's what chapter is this? Chapter 5, and we have like, what, 9? Yeah, halfway. Yeah, that seems about right. Yeah. Well, some stories do it, for the most part, it's always halfway and up. I've never seen it, well, I've seen it done closer, but when it's closer, it normally says fast pace or established relationship or something like that. It's tagged and stuff. When I don't see it tagged and it's slow burn, most of the time everything is slow burn, you expect it to be halfway and up. Which, surprisingly enough, we have a lot of fics of them getting together, but, like, we don't get much fics of them being together, you know? I like to have a little mixture in my fanfictions when I write, where part of the story they're getting together, they get together, and then you see them together. You know? Kind of situation? Anyways, okay. I love this. This was super fun. I really enjoyed this, really a lot. So, so far, the story it's good. We're just gonna not think about the fact that Izuku literally just murdered someone for Katsuki. I do like the line that Katsuki is Izuku's downfall. Yeah. I think vice versa as well. I mean, that's kind of universal. BKDK. They're always each other's Achilles heel. Anyways, as always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.